Hi, my name's Salma. I'm a live streamer, software engineer, and developer educator, and this is what's in my dock. Firstly, my devices. I use an Apple M2 MacBook Pro as my main work machine. I use an iPhone 15 Pro Max, even though I don't update my phone that often, and I've got Apple Watch SE. I also use 4 HomePods to automate my life and home environment around me, and I use a custom PC build for live streaming. As well as writing code, my day-to-day involves a lot of live streaming and tech content creation. For live streaming on Twitch, I use a custom build PC, and you can see all of the components that I built into that on my website. And I also use a lot of hardware peripherals. I'm fully in the Elgato ecosystem, so I use 2 Elgato Keylight Airs, a Stream Deck XL, a Wave 1 USB mic, a capture card to capture my Mac output to my PC when I'm streaming, and the Camlink 4K. My camera is a Sony ZV-1, and I use 2 other Logitech webcams for different camera angles that the chat on stream can trigger to view as well. I also recently got an Elgato prompter as well, which I'm using to talk to you right now, and I would highly recommend it. As for the hardware that I use when I write code, I love using my Mistel Barocco split keyboard. It's actually one of the rarer UK ISO layouts, and it's got some cherry milkshake weirdo keycaps on it, which I love looking at. And I set it up with my Apple trackpad in the middle, so I'm not moving my shoulders around all the time in the day. And the software I use when I'm live streaming is OBS. I pipe music in using a service called Pretzel Rocks. I use all of the Elgato software for the peripherals. So there's the control center, the Stream Deck software, etc., and the Wavelink software. I also use another tool called Atom. It connects Twitch to OBS and allows me to make things happen on my stream via Twitch channel point redemptions without me needing to write any code. But speaking of writing code, I do have a very large custom setup that I wrote in order to power all of the things that happen on my stream. It's a back end in Express and Node, connects to a front end built in React. It even shares a types package if you want to get nerdy. And so everything I do is a combination of things that happen using Atom, my custom Twitch bot, and all of the software around it. And now for the software that I use in my day-to-day coding. I try to keep things as simple as possible and not overwhelm myself with tool fatigue. I'm saying that though, but the list I'm going to read out is pretty long. However, I use VS Code as my main coding IDE. I keep it really simple, and I have like a custom setup where I hide the sidebars and all the different activity feeds and things, and I just want a blank canvas to be able to code on. I use iTerm2 as my terminal, or the inbuilt terminal in VS Code. And I try to manage as many of my dependency packages as possible on my machine using Homebrew. So I'll install Node and anything else I need via Homebrew. The main browser I use is Arc. I recently converted to Arc last year. It kind of feels like an app rather than the browser, and that's what I like about it. It's built on Chromium, so if you're familiar with Chrome, it does everything that Chrome does with a few extra little details on top. And I make sure to use the browsers like Safari and Firefox as well if I'm going to test out what I'm building. I replaced Spotlight on a Mac with Raycast. I don't think I'm using it to its full potential, but I do have some pretty cool commands that I use to like get my clipboard history up if I misclick on Command C and V, and that one's really helpful, and it's just nice to look at. I currently use Rectangle for window management. I actually recently switched from Spectacle to Rectangle last year. I'm still getting used to the keybinds for Rectangle because there are a lot, but I would recommend it. And on the subject of content creation, I found a really cool app that allows you to hide app icons in your Mac top toolbar when you're doing screen recordings for videos, and that's called Vanilla. For day-to-day video editing, I either use ScreenFlow on my personal MacBook or I use Adobe Premiere Pro on my work MacBook. And one bit of software I couldn't live without is Meeting Bar. Now this sits at the top of my Mac screen toolbar, and it allows me to consolidate events across as many calendars as I need. And I manage 3 calendars in my day-to-day, and it's really helpful to give me a quick glance at what's coming up next in my day. Finally, I recently switched from Trello to Notion for task management last year. Since I started using Notion at work, I began to get more familiar with it and understand how useful it is to have databases of tasks and other things. Like I use it to manage my newsletter and everything I need to do for Twitch and all the miscellaneous things I need to do in my life. Those are all the tools that I use for live streaming, tech content creation, and writing code. Find me on the internet everywhere as White Panther, that's White P4N3R, and hopefully I'll see you live on Twitch.